As the Bible says, blessed are the peacemakers. And in that end, I hope my greatest legacy, when it's all finished, will be known as a peacemaker and a unifier. I hope that's going to be true.
That was President Trump at the National Prayer Breakfast this morning after he doubled down on his proposal for the U.S. to take control of Gaza and for Palestinians to be resettled. The president, writing on Truth Social, quote, the Gaza Strip would be turned over to the United States by Israel at the conclusion of fighting, and that the Palestinian people will be, quote, resettled in far safer and more beautiful communities with new and modern homes in the region. Moments ago, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with lawmakers on Capitol Hill, and he was asked about President Trump's proposal. Here's what he had to say.
Mr. Netanyahu, do you think are needed in Gaza?
Are we in?
To make it feasible?
No.
Joining us now from Tel Aviv is NBC's Yasmin Vossoughian. Also with us, Peter Baker, New York Times chief White House correspondent and an NBC News political analyst. So, Yasmin, President Trump is making statements about Gaza as the ceasefire negotiations are trying to move to the next phase, a very delicate phase.
Yeah, incredibly delicate. While the prime minister is gifting President Trump with a gold pager as a reference to those surprise attacks on Hezbollah fighters, you have to understand the landscape here in Israel right now, Jose, to really see how fragile this moment is for this ceasefire deal and even getting to phase two. If we look at what's happening in the West Bank, many feeling as if the war has actually shifted to the West Bank. The continued explosions in Jenin just last weekend, 100 plus residential buildings were in fact exploded, people losing their homes, their belongings, 30,000 plus Palestinians evacuated from Jenin camp. And then you talk about the hostages, right? We're supposed to get 3 more names tomorrow, 3 more hostages released on Saturday, 79 hostages remaining in Hamas captivity. Hamas potentially wondering how they'll have the upper hand if they continue on with this ceasefire deal. And then the family forum, the family members of the hostages, incredibly worried that their family members will fall by the wayside because of this rhetoric that is coming out of Washington and from Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu and calling for Palestinians to leave Gaza. I actually sat down with Aviva Siegel, the wife of Keith Siegel, who was the first Israeli-American hostage to be released on Saturday. Aviva spent 52 days in captivity. Her husband, Keith, 484 days. And I asked her, Jose, specifically if she was worried about the fragility of this phase of the ceasefire and of bringing the hostages home. Let's take a listen to what she has to say, and then we'll talk on the other side.
I just want to tell President Trump and Bibi Netanyahu and Hamas, just let them go home. Please let them go home. They've had enough. We've had enough. Everybody in this country has had enough. And knowing and feeling what it's like on being all sides now, being a hostage, worrying for my husband that was a hostage for 484 days. And now that he's released, and I'm released in one way, knowing what they're going through, hell, just please wake up before it's too late.
So again, we're likely to get the 3 names tomorrow, if in fact we're moving forward. And then the 3 more hostages released on Saturday. The prime minister has said he has a plan for phase 2, but has yet to be forthcoming about that plan. Those talks likely to resume this weekend when the prime minister returns from the U.S., Jose.
And hey, Peter, Yasmin, I just want to, because these are things that just, we see them. And I want to go back to the if I could, the picture that what the Prime Minister of Israel gave President Trump as a visiting president. And you see there in the middle of that tree trunk, press with both hands, that golden pager. This will remember. These pagers, hundreds of them, took out essentially the top and middle level organizers of Hezbollah. When these pagers went off, many of these Hezbollah members were killed. Many were severely injured. And then the next day, walkie-talkies started blowing up. But it's just want to, see that picture again. It's a really significant statement that the Prime Minister of Israel is making with this gift. But Peter, you wrote, quote, when it came to Gaza, Mr. Trump's thinking on Tuesday was so far outside the box that it was not even clear where he knew there was a box at all. How much of a shift is this, and how real of a shift is this?
Well, if you take it seriously, it's a dramatic shift. It's something no president since the creation of Israel, would have embarked on. Not just the idea of even perhaps forcibly, but certainly removing the entire Palestinian population of Gaza, but the United States then taking it over as a territory. That's what he's talking about here, which is so remarkable because, of course, he ran in 2016 on getting us out of the Middle East, of extracting the United States from foreign entanglements and criticizing nation building in the Iraq War. This would be the biggest, most extraordinary, expansive commitment of American treasure and resources that we've seen in quite a few years. Now, he said today in his social media post that it would not involve U.S. troops. That's hard to imagine. How on earth could you hold on to Gaza, where there have been Hamas terrorists for decades, without U.S. troops? How would you defuse all of the unexploded ordnance that he talked about getting rid of without U.S. troops? Are you going to subcontract that out to Egyptian and Israeli troops? I mean, it's all sort of fuzzy and not very well thought through. Obviously, there's been no Defense Department analysis, no State Department analysis. This is just him talking, and we have very few details to actually judge it by. And that's why I think people are having a hard time taking it seriously, because it seems so fanciful, so farcical even. And I think that it may be, some people think, just his way of getting the conversation going, trying to provoke people, because he's not wrong that Gaza is a demolition site. He's not wrong that it is a horrific place for 2 million people to live right now. But even so, many of those 2 million people don't want to be forced out of their home.
Yasmin Issougian and Peter Baker, thank you both so much.